Hi, everybody. Bill Spalding here. Welcome to Ivy League Women's Basketball Media Day. Over the next 3 hours, we'll hear from head coaches, select student athletes from each of the league's 8 teams, starting with Brown in just about a minute or two. Season gets underway for most teams on November 9th. And Princeton is the defending Ivy women's basketball champions, posted a 14-0 league record, 26-1 overall record last year. They've been picked to repeat as the preseason media poll first pick. Penn was picked second, Columbia picked third. Before we get started with Brown here in a minute, just a couple more notes before we get underway. Most Ivy teams, as I said, open their schedule in just a couple of days. The Ivy League will once again have significant presence on television this season. As part of its long-term league-wide arrangement with ESPN, the Ivy League will showcase 6 regular season games featuring men's and women's basketball on ESPN linear networks. In addition, the Ivy League Women's Basketball Tournament Championship game will be available on ESPN News. All home Ivy League events will be available through ESPN+. The league will also be featured on several regional sports networks throughout the season, including NESN, SNY, and NBC Sports Philadelphia. This year, the Ivy Men's and Women's Basketball Tournament features the top 4 teams from both the men's and the women's regular season. It'll be hosted at the Levites Pavilion, March 11th through 13th at Harvard University. All 6 games broadcast on the ESPN family of networks. It's going to be a good year in Ivy women's basketball. 5 of the league's 2019-2020 All-Ivy selections returned to the court, highlighted by the Rookie of the Year and first-team pick Kayla Padilla of Penn. Ivy League women's basketball has established itself as one of the deepest conferences in the country, ranking in the top 11 across Division I conferences for 6 straight seasons. It's been a successful fall for the Ivy League, getting back to sports, already totaling 15 nationally ranked programs across 7 sports in the first month of competition. For more information on the league's successful fall, you can visit ivyleague.com. It was a big summer for Ivy League athletes, as 91 current and former Ivies competed at the 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo. The 91 representatives ranked 6th of any Division I conference, behind just the SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and Pac-12. And the Ivy League contingent brought home 11 medals, including 3 golds. One note on this program today: it is being recorded, will be published on the league's YouTube channel later today. And if you would like a recording sent to you directly, please contact Caitlin Zook in the Ivy League office. She is the communications contact for Ivy League women's basketball this year. Her email is Caitlin, Kaitlyn, at ivyleague.com. And then finally here's how things are going to work today. Once we're joined by the coaches and student athletes, there'll be opportunities throughout the course of each session for media members to ask questions of the coaches and student athletes from each team. To ask a question, please use the raised hand function located at the bottom of your screen. And again, we will continue to remind folks about that as the day goes along. But without further ado, we're about ready to get things rolling with the Brown Bears leading us off. And here come the Brown Bears, our first team. Brown was 8-19 in the 2019-20 season. In April of 2020, Monique LeBlanc was hired as the Bears head coach, following 9 seasons as the head coach at Merrimack. Although this is officially her 2nd season, she'll coach her first game at Brown coming up in just a few weeks' time. We're also joined today by senior forward Ashley Ducharme and sophomore Kyla Jones. Ashley led the squad in rebounding in 2020 and is the lone senior on a roster that is 6 juniors, 6 sophomores, and 4 freshmen. And then Kyla will be making her Brown debut this year in high school. She was All-State in both Illinois and Massachusetts. Brown opens up the season on November 9th at Fairfield. They open up Ivy League play against Penn on January 2nd. And now that we have everyone in, once Coach is ready to roll, welcome, Coach. And we'll start things off with a quick few comments from you to get us underway today. Any opening thoughts on your team and your group this year? Glad to have you here in the Ivy League.
Thank you so much, Bill. It's really exciting to be here in the Ivy League. We're all really grateful every day that we get to be part of this league and also represent Brown University. Things have been going great. I think that coming in after a really long period of time where we weren't competing, but especially under the circumstances of me being a new coach and us having a new staff and more than half of our team being new players, it's just been really wonderful to be together, to be on the court, doing what we love, playing basketball. And right now we are just focused on building a championship program. And what that means for us is that every single day we're building our trust, our chemistry on the court, off the court, and really focus on building great habits and doing all the small things that are a really critical part of the process to get us to where we want to be. But I go back to my first comment, which is just, it's really great to all be together.
Yeah, I want to pick up on, building a culture and building what you want in a team when you've had to do it in these really unusual circumstances over the last 18 months. How were you able to, get to know your players, get to know them as people as well, and then also install the things you want to install even in the challenging last 18 months?
Yeah, I've said this to a couple of people in different interviews or on podcasts. I'm really appreciative of the players on our team for just their openness to me and to our new staff, because I think that to your point, we had to get to know each other a lot over Zoom and over FaceTime, and it wasn't lost on me or our staff that these young women had a lot of Zoom fatigue going on from, you know, transitioning to online classes and that world. And so, and then of course we had a couple of players who weren't on or, who weren't in classes and had full-time jobs or both. And so we found ourselves on 7 p.m. Zoom calls oftentimes. And I know there was a lot of fatigue, but that was the way that we could get to know one another. And I think everybody gave that extra effort, understanding that this was a unique situation that we were in here at Brown with having a coaching transition during the pandemic as well. So it certainly wasn't the easiest and not the most ideal. And so I think I learned early on that our team was willing to give effort, and that was really important. So we just made the best of it, I think. And I think just try to have a great attitude about it. And, attitude and energy is really important in our program. So that was kind of our first test of this isn't ideal, but let's make it great anyways.
Reminder, media on the call, we'll be opening things up for questions shortly. So if you have any questions, please use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. Coach, tell me about the two players you have with you, Ashley and Kyla here. What do they bring to your squad?
Yeah, so as you noted, Ashley is our one and only senior. I think that the team lovingly considers Ash to be, like a team mom, but Ash brings so much more than that too. I do want to start with, she's a great leader. And I think that as a coaching staff, as we're trying to build this championship culture, Ash is somebody who has just kind of had that mindset and those intangibles right off the bat. So she's been great to work with and really helpful to our staff. And then on the court, she has the most experience too of anybody on the team. And so we can all lean on Ash for a lot of things, when it comes to how do we want to do things? How do we want to approach a workout? How do we all want to be dressed for this event or that? But then also Ash has the most Ivy League experience of anybody in our program. And as you said, she was our leading rebounder that season. And she just understands the grind of the Ivy League and what it takes. So she just brings, a lot of experience to our group. And then Kyla is one of our sophomores. And I feel like we have 10 first years on the team because Kyla is part of the group that didn't get to compete as a freshman. But Kyla brings a lot of talent to our program. I remember seeing Kyla when I was at my previous job and Kyla was competing and I was at a tournament and, quickly asked around the other coaches in the stands, is that kid already committed? Is she going anywhere? And learned that she was going to be at Brown. I thought, great get. That's a great pickup for them. She'll be really, really great in the Ivy League. So now I'm really excited to be coaching her. She's dynamic. She can score at all three levels. And she's got a great personality. She's really funny. She adds a lot to our team. So we're excited to see both of them on the court this year.
Great. Ashley, picking up on the leadership, what are some of the things you had to do to lead this group over the last 18 months? And how have you seen the team, the culture, the program change over the course of the last 18 months?
I think Coach Mo touched on it. It was definitely hard over quarantine and trying to build a new program while we were all at home. But I definitely give credit to our coaches for leading that, because they have fostered this great culture and held us to high standards. And so once we got on those calls or just individual FaceTimes, or some of us were on campus, the sophomores were here during the summer. I was on campus, but not allowed to work out with the team. And so just bits and pieces, trying to get people together as we build a program. Like Coach said, we have 10 new players, a whole new staff. So we're definitely building, but I mean, it's crazy to think it's not even been 2 months. I think we've come so far in just our time here this fall. So I'm just excited because I know it's only going to keep going up from here. And just, it's been a great program to be part of.
And Kyla, for you, it's been a long time since you gotten to play a real competitive basketball game, having to wait out your freshman season. So how excited are you for, that second week in November when you're playing meaningful basketball games again?
Yeah, I'm so excited. Like you said, it's been a while, so just ready to get back into the swing of things, like relearning how to play in a real basketball game. It's a lot different than just practicing. So I'm super excited. I think it's going to be a good year. So.
Great. I see one hand raised so far, so we're going to open it up here for questions. And if anyone else has questions for Brown, please raise your hand as well. Let's bring in our first question from Jen Hatfield.
Hey, Jen Hadfield from the Next. Coach, good to talk with you again. Just curious for you, and if either of your players want to jump in as well, awesome. But curious, it's a little bit of a guessing game, figuring out what everybody's going to look like on the court. But so far, what's one strength that you think your team is going to have this year, and what's kind of one big question mark for you guys entering the season?
Jen, great to talk to you again. Not to see you, but it might be my internet, but could you repeat the end of your question? You had mentioned that it's hard to know much about our Ivy opponents, and then I lost your question.
Yeah, I'm actually curious about you guys, just, a strength of your team so far and a question mark that you still have.
So I think that at this time of year as coaches, we always have a ton of question marks because every year is a new team. Even if it's your 5th, 6th, 10th year coaching a program, it's a new mix of players. And so seeing how everybody's going to gel on the court is always, gives you a million question marks at this time of year. And I think being that it's our first year with this program, of course, we have those same question marks. I think I'll start with a strength. We have a hungry team. I think that we're really young, and I know that sometimes that can be, intimidating, I guess, for coaches because we feel like we have a young squad and, we're not as experienced as other programs. But I find it to be a strength because I think that we're hungry, we're really competitive, and everybody wants to get out there and contribute to this new style of basketball that we're really excited to play here at Brown. So that's definitely been a strength. And question marks, I think, is just, seeing how we react and respond to coming off of 2 years of not playing competitive basketball.
Great. Thanks, Coach. Next, we have a question from Mike Mancuso.
Hello, Coach. Mike Mancuso here from the Ivy League on ESPN. We'll be covering your team this year. And one thing I'd like to know is if things are going well for your team on the court, what should we expect to see in terms of style of play this year? Yeah,
great question, Mike. Thanks. So let's start offensively. If things are going well, then I think you're expecting to see a team that really shares the basketball, playing an offense that has a lot of freedom and promotes everybody playing to their personal abilities. Just a fun style of play that is with pace and the shot selection that players and fans love to see. And then defensively, I think you'll see an intense ball club that brings a lot of energy, is flying around, and it's a really fun and active defense.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Coach, a couple questions have come in from Robert Brown over the chat as well. The first is kind of picking up on what you're talking about defensively. He's curious, how you're tackling the defensive side of the ball and what you're looking to do on defense.
Yeah, we're aware of that. I mean, I think that we want to attack our challenges head on, and there's no secrets about where maybe we've struggled in the past, and we're aware of those things. I think that for defensive purposes, this whole team is playing a new defense, of course, because it's a new coaching staff, but also new from defenses they've played in the past. And we really want to focus on what we can do to be disruptive in our defense, and habits that we can build so that we are performing better on that end of the court. We're really valuing defense in our practices and emphasizing it a lot. But I think that we're aware of the players and teams in our league, and we work with analytics to inform our strategies defensively, and we're really excited about being a much better defensive squad this year and moving forward.
And I think you may be able to see the other two questions as well, but they kind of go hand in hand. First one is about assistant coach Tyler Patch, who's worked both at Brown and with you, and kind of how he's helped the transition as someone with the Brown experience on this staff. And then secondly, does this additional year, do you think that helped or hindered the rebuild process?
Yes, thank you for those questions. Tyler Patch has been great to have here on staff. He does have that Ivy experience, and there's Division I basketball rules and there's Ivy League basketball rules. And so he's been really helpful with his knowledge of those differences, and not only just understanding the rules, but understanding the impact and how we can best work within them to create a flow for our team and maximize our opportunities within both sets of those rules. Of course, he's familiar with other programs in the conference, and so that's been really helpful as well. But outside of that, he's a really smart coach. He adds a lot of value. He added a lot of value at Merrimack too. So I'm just happy to have him with me, not just because of his previous experience here in the league. And then the year off for rebuild, did it help or hinder? I don't know if I feel confident saying it did either, because I think that on the one hand, it was nice to have additional time where we just got to know players and spend time together without it being, we are also trying to get better at this skill today. But then naturally, I think we all tend to bond really easily over basketball and practices and coming together around our goals and our identity. So it was challenging not to be able to do that in that setting. And I know that every Ivy League program was different, but we had 3 semesters last year at Brown. So there was no point in time that our whole program was here. And in fact, we had about half of our program here at best at any point. So the first time that we were all together was actually a couple months ago, beginning of September.
Great. We're going to bring in David Tannenwald next with a question.
Hey, Coach, this is David Tannenwald from Harvard Magazine. I was looking back at the women's basketball schedule from when you were a student athlete at Bucknell and saw that you had a chance to match up against some Ivy League teams as a player. And I'm wondering if you have any sense or impressions of sort of comparing the league then and now, and just in general, how Ivy League women's basketball has evolved over the past 20 years or so.
David, you just brought me back, brought a lot of memories back when you said that. Something that we as players do is remember, certain games that stand out for whatever reason. And I recall actually playing at Harvard and giving up a very large amount of offensive rebounds. And let me tell you, David, those next few practices back were something for the storybooks. That one left a mark. But in general, I will say that since those days, which weren't that long ago, but that Ivy League basketball has really come so far. I think that now this is the place to be if you are a high level Division I basketball player and smart enough to be here. As it was noted early here on the show, the Ivy League has been ranked in the top 11 in all the conferences across Division I for the last handful of years, and most recently was ranked 7th. And I think that's just a testament to the growth of the Ivy League, and in particular women's basketball. So I think that it's grown immensely from those days, and it's really exciting to be part of it now.
All right, Coach. Ashley, Kyla, you've hit the end of your allotted time here, so we appreciate you spending some time with us. Good luck getting things going in a couple of weeks. Up next, we'll bring in the group from Harvard, so we'll let the folks behind the scenes get the folks from Harvard in here, and then we'll get things going again in about a minute or two's time, so get your hands raised if you have questions for the Crimson as well.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
All right, we are joined by Harvard head coach Kathy Delaney-Smith, Harvard senior Tess Sussman, Harvard junior Mackenzie Forbes with us as well. The Crimson coming off a 2019-2020 season where they finished 15-12 overall. And again, Ivy Madness will be at Levites Pavilion this year at the end of the season. Harvard opens up the year November 9th at Boston College. Coach, welcome. Thanks so much for being here with us. Let's start things off with some opening thoughts about your group this year.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Bill and Megan and all the folks in the Ivy office. People think that these events just are easy and happen on their own, and I know a lot of hard work goes into putting this together. So thank you so much for that. I think you're going to hear the same thing from every Ivy coach. I think you're going to hear that it's an understatement that we are thrilled to be together playing the game that we love. And as an Ivy League coach for 1 million years, I think I feel that every year, because our system is different than the scholarship system in that we don't have required summer programs. And so every year I love coming back, and I love the feeling of my athletes and how they relate to each other and how they're so happy to be back together. But I would say this year, it's times 100. It's an energy that I haven't felt in 40 years at Harvard. That is, they're just so happy to be together. They're so happy to be playing basketball because it's been close to 2 years that we didn't play. And they even actually liked preseason. And who likes preseason? No one likes preseason. So it's pretty interesting. The basketball is a little bit ugly. I'm going to be honest. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but we're only 2 weeks into the practice season, and I have 9 players who have never played together. And they are coupled with, they're very talented new players, I will say that, but they're coupled with 7, veterans, many of whom got a lot of game time as, and Tess being one of them, as freshmen and sophomores. We relied heavily on the last time we played, I felt we were pretty young, and a lot of what happened to us was maybe in part their youth. They're that much older, and that they're that much wiser and that much better now. So I would say I have the most talent I've ever had at Harvard. And I'm going out on a limb. I'm taking a chance saying that, but I truly feel that way. So, but it's ugly basketball still. So our job is to put it together as a system, as a unit, as a team. And if we do, then we will be a team to be reckoned with. We'll be very, very talented.
A reminder to folks, after each session, your hands will be lowered. So if you have a question for Harvard, please re-raise your hand here, and we'll bring you in shortly. Coach, you mentioned some of the differences in the level of excitement and things like that. I'm curious, the actual preseason period here leading up to the season, Did you have to do a lot of things differently, both on the court and off it, just because it has been so long to have this group together?
Yeah, we did. Our preseason was non-traditional from my perspective. We old coaches sort of get stuck in our ways, but I always try to look at new and different ways. I'm sure Tess will say that this preseason was probably very different than her freshman year and sophomore year. So I did a lot of things differently, and I think building relationships, building chemistry is a really important part of what we do. Putting our system in, I think offense is a little harder than defense. It's takes time, and so getting everyone to buy in, getting everyone to drink the punch, and getting everyone to be patient with themselves and each other is sort of what we find ourselves focusing on this fall.
Speaking of doing things differently, the Ivy League going to a 10-week schedule in conference play this year. What type of adjustments do you think that's going to require, and what are you most excited about with that move as well? I'm old school, so I loved our old schedule. I'll be honest with you. It wasn't broken, so I kind of liked it. So this is unknown. What I worry about is the shortened week to prepare for a back-to-back Ivy. So if we play a Sunday game, when's your day off? And then how many days do you have to prepare for a back-to-back weekend when that happens? So that's different for me. And I'm old and set in my ways. So that I'll have to figure that one out. I think it's really exciting to just have a single game weekend where you can concentrate on that, and physiologically, I think that's probably a great thing for the athletes. So I think it's probably way more positive than my fear of the shortened week. Tess, what does it mean to you to be elected a captain of this team, and what was the challenge like leading this team over the last year and a half?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. I can say with all my heart that I've been waiting literally years for this. We all have, to be back on campus. And it means so much that my teammates elected me as someone to lead them, especially this year. With that, it definitely has been difficult. Coach Kathy touched upon it. We have so many different learning curves this year, more than anything, with new players, people who have never even been on campus, people who didn't even meet in person yet. So it's definitely been a lot of off the court, trying to bond, get to know each other, and trust each other, because once you can trust each other off the court, you can trust them on the court. So it was a bit difficult to get everyone together, but I think that we have a really special team this year, and I'm really thankful, and I'm really honored to be the person that our teammates looked up to and decided would be the one to help us lead and hopefully win this year.
And Mackenzie, for folks who don't know, you transferred in from Cal a little more than a year ago. I know you had the family links to Harvard, but what else was it about Harvard, about the program, that attracted you to come play here? And what's the adjustment to Harvard been like for you?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me as well. Definitely just the coaching staff, coming on campus, knowing the history that Coach Kathy has here. Definitely highly respect her, one of the best coaches I've ever had. And then there's the team. And I know like Tess and I have talked about this, but just the chemistry coming into it, the leadership was definitely like obvious to me, apparent to me on my visit. And then the stepping on campus, the transition has been made so much easier because of the help of our captains like Tess, my teammates, obviously my brother being here on campus. And I just love it here, honestly. I love the team. I love the culture. I love the staff. I'm just having a great time.
Great. We're going to open up to questions here. We're going to start with Jen Hatfield. And if you have questions for Harvard, please raise your hand at the bottom of your screen. Let's bring Jen in here to get us going.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for your time. Jen Hadfield with The Next. Coach, just wanted to ask you, you mentioned all the talent on your roster. Just curious if you have in any way started sorting out, who some of your top options might be. And, are there any players that you think will surprise some folks this season?
That's a great question, Jen. So the two sitting right here with us are like key components to who we can be this year. I think both of these student athletes have amongst the highest court IQs of any players I've ever coached. And I can't tell you how important that is. Tess, who is an undersized forward, has been actually asked to play literally every position in our program. And she does it because her IQ allows her to do it, and her work ethic and her drive and her confidence. So like she's our foundation. She's our lefty, I can do anything. What do you need me to do for the team kind of player, senior, captain, etc. Kenzie was a McDonald's All-American, which just speaks volumes about who she is and what her potential is. We played Cal when Kenzie was a freshman, and she dropped how many on us, Kenzie? 32? Yet we won, so who cares how many points Kenzie scored? So she has unlimited potential. We have, it's so funny when we look at our rankings, we think we're better than fifth, to be perfectly honest, because I have enormous scoring power in this program right now. Again, we're ugly right now, so it's our job, my job to turn it into a system. But I have probably 7 or 8 athletes that I have to pick 5 starters from. That's how deep we are. So I'm more than excited to coach this team.
Thanks, Jen. Now I'll bring in Jonathan Tannenwald.
Thanks, Bill. Hi, everybody. This question's for Kathy. And I jumped on a minute late, so I'm sorry if you addressed it in your introduction. What do you think it's going to be like getting out there on the court for an actual game against somebody else when it's been so long, since there was an actual game against somebody else?
Jonathan, that is the $1 million question. It's a great one. You know what? And I don't even know what that's going to be like. We had Crimson Madness here the other night, and that in itself was an event. And it was more positive than negative, but we haven't played for 2 years. So what is it going to be like? We open with Boston College in our opener at BC. And there's just a lot of unknowns for me. We're a very young team. Again, I'm going to go out on a limb and say one of the most talented, if not the most talented I've had here at Harvard. But the unknowns equal our potential. We have to stay healthy. We're very, very young. We'll rely heavily on Tess's leadership and Kenzie, who's a junior, her leadership, even though she's new to Harvard. But we have, an enormous, they're surrounded with incredible teammates who have great potential. So I don't know that. I didn't answer that very well, Jonathan. Sorry.
We'll get another shot to answer something here. We'll bring Robert Brown in next.
Hi, Coach Rob Brown, Ivy Hoops Online. Even before the pandemic, 2020 didn't end the way you all really wanted it. How thankful are you and the older members of the team to have this chance this year to try and get back to the Ivy tournament on your home court? And also, if you could talk about Harmony Turner, top 50 national recruit. Thanks.
Yeah, understatement that we are so grateful to the Ivy League for keeping the tournament site here at Harvard. And I think there was a lot of work. Again, running that tournament and again, rotating it through the Ivy League schools is an enormous amount of work for the Ivy League office. And so hats off to them, because I see how many visits they make to our site and how hard they had worked to get that tournament ready. And the irony is we get a second chance to be in it. And again, there's nothing more exciting than that. And there's nothing more to fuel us than that. And Harmony Turner, she is phenomenal. She is a phenomenal talent. She is part of the talent I think I have on this team this year. She's tremendous at both ends of the floor. She's going to impact defensively and offensively. She can score on all 3 levels. She's a talent certainly to be reckoned with, but she's also combined with, we have our high scorer Lola Mullaney, who's back as a sophomore, and Lola is an athlete who took her 1.5 years off and changed herself. She's not even the same player. She's 2 times better. She's she's great. And I could say the same for Tess as well. Like I understated what I said about Tess, but like her basketball is at a different level. And if there's a positive thing that happened at COVID, that happened to a lot of my players, is they worked on their game.
Robert, thank you. We'll turn it now to AJ Diltz with his question.
Thank you so much, Bill. Hi, everyone. Great to be here. Coach, just a question for you. Oh, I should probably state I'm with the Crimson as well. Coach, you mentioned kind of the development of Lola already, and you touched on some players going from their last time playing being a freshman now, stepping into leadership roles as juniors. I'm wondering, just in fall practices already, how has it been to kind of see someone like maybe Annie Stritzel or a player kind of develop and really grow into a leadership role, having last played, as first years?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Annie, and I'll throw Annie Stritzel, and I'll throw Maggie McCarthy into the same conversation. Again, to my great pride, those two players changed their game. And the minute they stepped on the campus and started playing, it was extremely noticeable. Now, to be truthful, not all the players were able to spend that time. It had to do with facilities and jobs. And, we didn't really have anybody here at Harvard. We only had first years, and we really only had two first years we were working with. So these are athletes that were driven to work on their game on their own back wherever they were in their homes, wherever they were living. And Annie Stritzel is doing phenomenal. I'm excited about her game. She also has a high court IQ, and I know everyone thinks all the athletes at Harvard have high IQs, but on the court they don't. And so I happen to be blessed with more than my share of the IQ. And what does that mean? That means that when things get rough, I don't have to coach. They just use their IQ and figure it out. So for an old coach like me, I can just sit back and relax.
Great, thanks, Coach. David Tannenwald is next to jump in here.
Hey, good to talk to you all. Tess and Kenzie, I think I saw that both of you spent time coaching basketball over the past year. Tess, I think you were coaching at Rivers, and Kenzie, when we chatted the other night, you mentioned that you were coaching as well. I'm wondering if you can share what it was like to coach basketball and how, if at all, that's now changing your approach to playing basketball this season.
Yeah, I can jump in. I had the honor to coach with Lindsay Hallion-Miller, who's actually one of our alumni. She's the head coach at Rivers. So not only did coaching and being able to look from an outside view at the game, but to coach alongside and learn from one of the best point guards that has ever played at Harvard and one of the smartest, talk about basketball IQ. I'm sure Coach Kathy would agree. She has taught me so much about what it means to look from the outside. And I think that has by far been a huge aspect in transforming my game and understanding how to make an impact, not necessarily skill-based, but big picture when approaching how to play. And I'm sure Ken's is going to reinforce that, but go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Just to echo what Tess was saying, you definitely learn a lot watching from the sidelines. I know Kathy and I over the past year had a lot of conversations about just how my perspective has changed, the little things like defense, rebounding, et cetera, that matter so much when you're a coach. And especially after playing my freshman year of college basketball, I remember talking to Kathy and just being like, yep, like you can't guard, you can't be in the game. So, and I was coaching 15U. So it's like those things definitely become glaringly apparent to you when you're on the sidelines trying to win a game. So that was definitely fun. And I would say sharpened my IQ a lot.
Great, we got time for one more. I think we can sneak Jen Hatfield back in here again.
Awesome, thanks so much. Just wanted to bring up am I unmuted now? There we go.
Go ahead again, Jen.
I had to give us a technical difficulty, right? It had to happen. Just wanted to ask both Tess and Kenzie about it being Coach's 40th season at Harvard, and what does it mean to you both to be part of that sisterhood that she has coached and mentored? And from your perspective, what makes her unique as a coach?
I think that being a part of the Harvard women's basketball community is something that I'll be forever grateful for. We talk about sports making you who you are, but it really is the people you're surrounded by. And once you take a step into the gym that Kathy Delaney-Smith is in, you're there for life, whether you're outside or there. I can't put into words the connection that everyone has, and it is thanks to Kathy. And I think what sets her apart is the priorities and the values that she instills in you, and those last a lifetime. And that's why we remain connected. We have a million different personalities all throughout our community, but we all connect because we have that connection, which is Kathy, which will live on way longer than she'll ever be at Harvard. But also it being her 40th year means something good's about to happen.
Yeah, I would definitely just echo what Tess was saying. Super grateful to be able to step in and be a part of this community. Like I said, like when I stepped on campus, when you step in the locker room, I can tell just the culture that Kathy's built here, the standards she holds us to. I can already see myself becoming a better player and person because of it. And yeah, just like Tess said, like the family, due to the nature of Kathy, like being here for so long, and we have Allison Feaster coming in the gym, just stopping by to watch our practice, things like that. Yesterday, when I was getting shots up, Kathy and I were joking about how she actually coached against my former coach, Lindsay Gottlieb, when she was at Brown. So just stuff like that. It's just so cool to me. And I think that longevity is definitely what makes Kathy in this program special.
I will just add anecdotally that when we did a feature at Harvard a couple of years ago on Harvard athletic alums and where they are now, the amount of amazing women doing things in all aspects of life that have come out of the Harvard women's basketball program is really impressive. Kathy, Mackenzie, Tess, really appreciate the time today, and good luck getting the season going November 9th against Boston College.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
All right, we'll be joined next by the squad from Princeton. So we'll take a quick step aside and bring them all in, and then we'll get things rolling with the Princeton Tigers next. All right, let's keep things rolling here with the defending Ivy League champion Princeton Tigers, who were picked first in yesterday's preseason media poll that was announced. The Tigers were 26-1 last year, 14-0 in the Ivy League, and closed 2020 on a 22-game winning streak. Princeton returns Julia Cunningham, who is with us here, along with senior Abby Myers, who is also back. And the Tigers open the season on November 10th at Villanova. Another big game on the non-conference schedule is a December 22nd home game against Texas. Princeton starts its Ivy title defense on January 2nd against Harvard. Coach, welcome. Let's start off with some opening thoughts from you on your squad this year.
Yeah, thanks. We're excited to be here today. Yeah, just some initial thoughts. I think we're all so excited and grateful to be back on the court all together. It was a long, 18, 19 months of being apart. And yeah, being back on the court in early September and starting official practice on October 1st. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to starting the season. It's a great group. It's a great combination of experienced Tigers and then a lot of fresh new faces as well. So yeah, a couple of weeks until we start up with a very difficult first game of the season with Villanova, but just looking forward to that challenge and the year ahead. We've got some great leadership, which includes Julia and Abby that they're with us today, and yeah, just excited for this opportunity.
Great. Before we look forward, I feel like we have to look back a bit. How long did it take your team, your players to find some closure and move on from how 2020 ended with the run that you were on and all the goals that you still had in front of you?
Yeah, a month or two, or and then Bella moved on to the WNBA, and Taylor Bauer moved on to Georgetown to play her 5th year. Of course, it was hard when the season was put to a halt, but yeah, I think we took a lot from that being my first year, and a great season it was, and learned a lot from it, but we kept that it's in the past, and we're moving forward, and we tried to stay as connected as we could during the year that we were apart. We did have a couple players on campus in the spring semester, Abby Myers being one of them. So yeah, I think we moved on, within a month or two, and then looked to the future.
You mentioned some of the key leaders and roles that have moved on. So what has it been like, and what's the process been like for this group with new leaders and new players in key roles finding its identity?
Yeah, it's a work in progress, but I'm really proud of the leadership that we have had in this past year. And then Carly Littlefield and her class moved on, but then Abby Myers and Nina Young, and then this junior class that we have, that there are a lot of experienced players, Julia Cunningham being one of them, and Grace Stone. Great leadership. Understand what's expected day in and day out, how important our values are and our philosophies, and I think they do a great job of communicating that to the younger players, coming in every day, knowing the expectations and how hard we need to work, and so it's been exciting, and I'm proud of the leadership that we've had in these couple months we've been on campus, but even the year that we were apart. I think we did a good job of staying as connected as we could.
A reminder for the media on the call, if you have a question for Princeton, I will open it up shortly. Please use the raised hand feature at the bottom of your screen. Abby, let's pick up on that identity question. What do you feel like the identity of this team and this group is?
Yeah, Bill. Yeah, good question. I think that, just going off what Coach said, we are an eager, excited team, having been, away from the game for almost 2 years, year and a half or so. So I think our identity this year is really to just come out and try and keep with the momentum that we ended with in 2020, the end of 2020. And that is, our defensive identity, our tough mentality, our competitiveness, and our will to be the best. Obviously, we were ranked number 1 in the pre-polls, but we still have something to prove. And we are a young team. We have experienced players nonetheless, but we still have unfinished business in the Ivy League.
Julia, you're the top returning scorer, so it would be easy to ask you about offense. But one of the keys to the season you had 2 years ago was just how good the group was on defense. I think you guys gave up like 45 points a game or some ridiculous number like that. Where does that commitment to defense stem from?
Yeah, I think it starts with coach. And obviously 2 years ago, we were the number 1 scoring defense. So I think that coming back this year, we have a lot of new faces, but I think just the idea of buying into that defensive mindset that we had and that we're continuing into this year is going to be really important. We've spent the past 2 months that we've been on campus really honing in on those defensive principles and just kind of going back to the basics and the fundamentals. Lots of shell defense in practice. So I think, again, that's going to be a huge part of our identity, like Abby said. And so I hope not much changes from 2 years ago.
Great. Let's open it up to folks who called in. Let's start again with Jen Hatfield.
Hey, Coach. Good to speak with you again. Jen Hadfield with the Next. The Ivy League obviously had a really strong season the last time you guys took the court, based on that conference RPI number. Coach, how strong do you expect the conference to be this year, both depth and at the top? And Abby talked about this a little bit, but are you guys comfortable being the favorite?
It's fine. There's a target on our backs nonetheless. But I think it's hard for for those that were voting, like who knows who's on what team really, right? Every team is, half of it is new or even more than that. So, but in perspective, like, we're going to come out, working really hard no matter where we're ranked in the poll. And I do think this Ivy League is really strong and competitive. And you were talking to Harvard just before this, like that's a very strong team, and with the players that they have coming back and new faces. And so I think it's going to be a really competitive, deep Ivy League season. And we're going to try to get prepared for that season. I think we have a pretty strong non-conference schedule to get us ready for Ivy League play. That's the most important part of the season. So looking forward to get into those games in January, February, and March.
Like we have a question from Robert Brown next. Thanks, Jen. Robert in here.
Thanks. Got unmuted. Rob Brown, Ivy Hoops Online. I guess this is a question for everyone. 2 years ago, the non-conference schedule was exceptional, an incredible season. And this year, you've got a team that's kind of learning, to kind of get back in touch with each other. And you've got another really, really challenging non-conference schedule. I guess maybe this is kind of directed to Julia in a way, but like your first year, how do you deal with a tough non-conference and try and keep spirits up so that you make sure you have a really strong Ivy season?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think our non-conference schedule looks great right now. I think that we have a lot of competitive teams that we're going to be going up against, but I think all these games are going to be super competitive, and especially the early ones. I think there's a learning curve for some of those new players. But we have these scrimmages to start the season that I think are really important for that learning curve, to kind of keep composure, to kind of settle into the Princeton offense and how we're going to play, kind of, again, going back to just finding our identity in those early games. And I think that we play really well as a group, and that's going to be really important, leaning on our upperclassmen and our leadership to kind of build like that foundation that we need, and then bringing those younger players along. And I think we're going to be really successful in that non-conference schedule.
Again, if you have any more questions for the group here from Princeton, please raise your hand. It looks like, Robert, you've got another one, so let's just keep on going.
Okay, thanks. Okay, great. Well, this is for Abby. You've had one of the more interesting careers at Princeton. I guess, could you talk a little bit about your journey and how special this last year is for you?
Robert, I appreciate that question, because it's definitely something that is prevalent in, just my description of my year at Princeton. And I think it's been special. It wasn't your traditional 4 years. Obviously, I took a year off after my first year, really grew that year, did some amazing things that outside of basketball that I never would have done without a free year. And yeah, come back my sophomore year, had a great season with the team. And we were Ivy champs, but of course, COVID hit, and I decided not to take another gap year, just wanted to kind of, keep going. And I was on campus second semester with 2 freshmen, Carly, McKenna, and Sydney, the seniors. And that was really great, because it was a very intimate group. We were able to really focus on, our defensive principles, but also just getting to know each other better. And then obviously now this year, but it's definitely been, it's been a fun, I always say that Princeton can't get rid of me because it's my 5th year here. But it'll definitely be sad come, the end of the year when things are wrapping up. But, nonetheless, it's been a great experience, and I feel that I've learned a lot throughout it. And I would prefer a spontaneous 4 years to then, just a traditional 4, back to back to back to back. So yeah, I have no complaints.
Great, thanks, Rob. We're going to bring Jen Hatfield back in again.
Thank you. Coach, just wanted to dig into the roster a little bit more and ask you, of the folks who haven't played a college game yet, who's really impressed you or who's kind of standing out? And then for any of the returners, who's kind of made some of the biggest strides?
Yeah, good question. For the newcomers, I think you'll like to watch Caitlin Chen, point guard, who's now a sophomore. She was enrolled last year, so we got to work with her in the spring semester. Paige Morton, I think, is going to be a strong contributor as well. So she's a first year. And I do think we're gonna look to our underclassmen quite a bit. So you're gonna see some new faces out there that there's quite a few of them that we're excited about. And then as far as our upperclassmen, these two that are sitting with us right now are playing some of the best basketball I've ever seen from them. I think they've grown a lot. I think they really took advantage of Julia of her gap year, and Abby, whether she was on campus in the spring semester or home, during the quarantine, really worked on her game as well. So excited about those two, and Maggie Connolly as well. We're definitely going to have a new face starting at point guard, without Carly Littlefield. So just excited about her growth as well. It's a good, I think, like I said earlier, it's a good combination of new faces that are ready to take on a new challenge of college basketball, and then returners that are just raring to go, chomping at the bit, but playing some really great basketball.
Thanks, Jen. I've got one last question for all three of you here, and it's about the new 10-week Ivy League schedule. So, Coach, you had 1 year of the traditional back-to-back. Julia and Abby, you've had a little bit more of the traditional back-to-back experience. What do you think some of the biggest challenges are about having to adjust to the kind of this different format? And at the same time, what opportunities and positives do you think about a 10-week schedule? We can start with you, Coach.
Yeah, I've never had a schedule like this. And even when I was at Tufts, it was all back to back. So this is going to be brand new for me. I think it gives us an opportunity to maybe rest a little bit more in between games and work on things in between, in the longer weeks in between the single games. I think it's going to be great for just the growth of our team. Not worried about like making sure we get so much, rest time. Yes, that's good, but it's also, I think, a way for us to develop during the season and keep getting better, so that we're peaking in March.
Julia, Abby, you guys have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think if this past year has taught us nothing, it's that we need to be adaptable. So moving on to a new schedule, different from my past 2 years, I think just looking forward, it does give us a little more rest time. We can come back with, fresher legs than we normally would. And to work on those scouts, like before games, we're going to have more time to kind of hone in on the scouting report and come in even more prepared than we would have for that second game. And moving to that 10-week schedule, I think it's just really important for us, like as athletes, to take care of our bodies on those off days that we have. And I think the preparation before games is going to be really important too. Yeah, and then, to kind of give a different answer to the what Julia and Coach said, I think that the 10 weeks will give us an opportunity to have those moments to step back and not get too lost in the game. The season is very long, and I think that as still young athletes who are growing and have very rigorous academic schedules, it'll give us the time to really prioritize what we need: our mental health, our emotional, physical health, and develop a routine that we think can suit each and every one of us, all of us as a team. And I think that the 10 weeks as well can help us grow our relationship and our culture by stepping back and enjoying moments other than necessarily just, hardcore basketball, which we all love in the end. But yeah.
Great. Appreciate the time today. Carla, Julia, Abby, thanks a lot, and good luck getting the season going in a few weeks' time.
Right.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Princeton Tigers start this season November 10th against Villanova. And coming up next here at Ivy Women's Basketball Media Day, we'll be joined by the Dartmouth Big Green. We continue on with the Dartmouth Big Green. We got the whole group here. First year head coach Adrian Scheibels, who was hired back in May, making the move from Bowdoin College, where she led the Polar Bears to 11 NCAA tournaments in 13 seasons. Also have junior Emma Koch, who will be making her Dartmouth debut this November after missing her freshman season with an injury. And junior Karina Mitchell, who played 19 games as a freshman and will step up into an even bigger role here this year. Dartmouth opens the season November 9th at home against Rhode Island. Hello and welcome, everybody. Coach, welcome to the Ivy League. We'd love to get things started with just some opening thoughts about your team this year.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm incredibly blessed to be here to work with these amazing women. I really enjoyed getting to know this new squad and to have a chance to work with them. And really, it's a new beginning for all of us. It feels a little bit like we're all first years right now, just after the pandemic and the year off from play. So it's been wonderful to land here at this amazing institution. I'm blessed to work with some of the most talented coaches and administrators out there. And so it's just, they've all welcomed me warmly, as has the team. And we've been really enjoying getting to know one another. And I've been incredibly impressed with the growth thus far.
Great. For folks who didn't watch a whole lot of Bowdoin basketball over the last decade plus, stylistically, when things are going well and your teams are playing the way you want them to play, what type of basketball should we expect?
Up-tempo basketball, pushing the ball in transition, and then, extending the pressure defensively to try to create that chaotic environment for our opponent. I really do, even though we put up a lot of points at Bowdoin, I like to focus on the defensive end, and really I'm a believer that defense wins championships. And so that's really what we're focused on here at Dartmouth, is improving our defensive numbers, our rebounding numbers, and limiting turnovers.
As you've gotten to know the players on your team this year and the student athletes you've been working with, what's the culture of this group like? What kind of characteristics define this team?
That's a great question. Well, we've been really intentional about creating our culture together. We have a shared leadership model, and the team has had a lot of ownership over that. But our biggest team value that we have is trust, and so that really comes with having open and honest conversations. And so I think what's got us started really, really easily with regard to that cultural shift is the fact that they are so close. They're a really close-knit group. They hang together all the time off the court. And here in our team room, they're always hanging out and studying. And so I think just, starting with building relationships is the foundation of that trust that is so important to our team culture. But they're a fun group, like they're very serious on the court, and yet when we're off the court, we have a great time together. And I really love that about this team. They have personality and they get along super well.
Great. We'll open this up for a question shortly. So if you have a question for Dartmouth, please raise your hand. Click on the raise hand button on the bottom of your screen. Emma, it has been a long wait for you to get to play. I mean, a really long wait at this point, basically like 3 years since your last competitive game. So how do you think you'll be feeling come November 9th when you're finally ready to step on the floor?
I'm really excited. That's the end of the conversation. Like, that's the whole thing that I've been looking forward to for these past 3 years. I think it gave me a really good perspective of just being grateful every time I step out on the court, and not thinking as much about the little things, which has been really great. But I mean, along with, I think probably the entire Ivy League, we're just really hungry to get out and play. So again, really excited for this year. It's been a long time and I'm super excited.
Great. Karina, what have been some of the biggest things you've been focused on over the last 18 months in terms of growing your game individually to get ready for this season?
So as most people know, we did lose our senior point guard, Annie McKenna. And so right now we're looking to fill that role. So I've been developing my skills in that realm and also developing my leadership skills. I inherited the captain's position halfway through my sophomore year. So now I'm a junior captain. And so I'm still working to become the best leader that I can be to lead this team.
For both Emma and Karina, what's something we should know about Coach? I know this is a loaded question when she's sitting right in between you, but tell us something we should know that we wouldn't without being around her all the time.
I can start. I would say she does an incredible job of holding us accountable all the time, on and off the court. She allows practice to be really fun, but really competitive, which I think we've all really enjoyed. Like I said, we're all super hungry to play, and she tailors to that a lot in practice, which has been great.
She's very honest. She keeps us all on our toes, but she's also like honest and keeps things in perspective for us. So we know what to expect, what we need to get better at, what we're doing well, what we can build upon. So I really appreciate the honesty. I think it's made our team that much better this year.
Those were two good answers that aren't going to rock the boat in the team room either there. All right, let's open things up. Let's bring Jonathan Tannenwald in.
Thank you, Bill. And thanks everyone for the time. Adrian, to be a first-year coach of a program that hasn't played a live game now in, almost 2 years when the time comes, how do you prepare for this first live game and figure out who you're going to put out there against somebody else?
Yeah, I do think that's a challenge, but it's a great opportunity in that we have a deep, balanced team. We're incredibly young. We only have one player returning with significant minutes and, who had a starting role. So we've lost 4 of our 5 starters from that 2020 season. And we only have 4 players on our roster currently who have actually played in an Ivy League game. So we're incredibly young, we're incredibly balanced, and I see that as a real opportunity that we intend to capitalize on. We're focusing on our mantra is like get 1% better every day. And we're very process oriented. And we're just really looking for that growth each and every day on both ends of the floor. And we feel like if we can take every opportunity in practice and in our individual sessions and in our film sessions to rise, then the improvement of this team will be vast this year. And I know that just based on their work ethic and their focus. They're all bought in, which is amazing as a new head coach to have that kind of trust from your student athletes. And so I can't wait to see what they do. I think there'll be a lot of surprises because, as I said, right now, I think we're a really balanced team. So I'm looking forward to see, who rises. And I think it's going to just really depend on that coachability and that growth mindset moving forward.
Jonathan, thank you. Jen Hatfield is next.
Hi, everybody. Jen Hadfield from The Next. Coach, good to speak with you again. We've heard from some of the other coaches that there are a lot of unknowns right now, and Kathy Delaney-Smith even said the basketball looks really ugly at this point. So just curious, from your perspective, how smooth or rough is it right now? And what's something you guys are really good at on the court right now?
Basketball's looking great. It's just perfect right now. To Kathy's point, yeah, of course, it's early in the season and these women haven't played in a year and we have a super young team. So of course, naturally there are moments where it's a bit chaotic and lacks discipline. But what I love about this team, and they referred to it when they were talking about the environment in practice, is that they all have a passion to compete. They're all incredibly coachable. And so I think that is going to serve us incredibly well. We're working on, providing for a more up-tempo look offensively. And really our major focus, I think, in practice each and every day are what we've been stressing to the women is just really keeping the opponent out of the paint, just increasing our ability to defend. Our numbers from 2020, even with that season group, within the Ivy League were less than stunning. And so we have a lot of work to do on the defensive side to keep people out of our paint and to rebound the basketball in order to be successful. And so that's where our focus lies right now.
Thanks, Jen. Rob Brown from Ivy Hoops Online is next.
Hi, Coach. Welcome to the league. So I guess my first question is, you talked about that idea of you're all first years. Your assistant coaching staff seems to not have a lot of D1 experience. Could you kind of talk about them? And also, I'm curious, what do you see as the strengths of the NESCAC conference that makes the transition to the Ivy League easier?
Great question. My staff is phenomenal. I am really blessed to work with these four women. Two of them played under me, and so I know them very well. And then Megan Phelps, our recruiting coordinator, worked with me at Bowdoin for 4 years as my assistant, my loan assistant. So, I think to hit the ground running with two people who know intimately, my standards and the standards that we all share here at Dartmouth is amazing. They bring great energy. They bring tactical awareness. They're just phenomenal human beings and coaches. And then the two other coaches that we have, Meredith and Sarah, come from programs where I knew the head coaches very well. And so they've made a seamless transition as well. Their energy and enthusiasm for these student athletes in this program is amazing. And so really when I was selecting a staff, again, I'm all about trust within the program. And I wanted to have people by my side that I knew I could trust to, work their tails off to build this program as we know that we can. So I am really blessed to work with these coaches. As for how the NESCAC will serve me, I mean, it's commonly referred to as a small Ivy. The basketball is incredibly good. It's really Division I level basketball, playing a back-to-back, Ivy League type schedule. And so I think all of that is going to served me really well as the head coach of this program and moving forward. Then again, we're looking to recruit, a better level of student athlete to this program in order to compete in this really insanely talented league. So, but I do think my experiences at Bowdoin, helped me hit the ground running here.
David Tannenwald is next.
Okay.
Hey, Coach. This is David from Harvard Magazine. I really appreciated what you were saying about being process-oriented and trying to cultivate a growth mindset. And in general, I find it interesting to think about how things like that from psychology or other disciplines can apply to coaching. So I'm wondering if you can just sort of share a little bit about your coaching philosophy and some of the influences, whether it was other coaches or people from other fields who've shaped how you approach building a team and a program.
Yeah, great question. I don't know. I really coaching a high level student athlete throughout the years, whether it was at Bowdoin or at Swarthmore. I think the student athlete that we work with here in the Ivy League is very much similar. They're perfectionists who put a lot of pressure on themselves to meet the highest of standards day in and day out in the classroom and on the court. And so I found that, reading Carol Dweck's book, Mindset, and other resources like that regarding growth mindset really gave me more insight into, addressing those issues on the court, drill to drill, moment to moment, about staying present and really embracing moments of failure and mistakes as opportunities to grow. And so our coaching philosophy as a staff really reflects that mindset of, okay, you just made a turnover, but it's a next play mentality, and we're going to learn from that, and we're going to get better from that moment. And so I'd like to feel that the players are feeling that in practice, that they're feeling that, that the coaches are embracing those moments as opportunities to improve. But, I think that book and other books that I've read and articles that I've read about growth mindset have not only informed my coaching philosophy and our focus, but I'm a parent of 2 teenage girls, and it's really made an incredible difference in my ability to, I think, help them to rise from moments of adversity. So I think it's really important. Our team motto this year and everything that we're doing is about focusing on that present moment and not, talking about championships or NCAA tournament runs. And we didn't at Bowdoin either. So really staying consistent with that.
Great, thanks, David. Jen Hatfield is back for more.
This question's for all 3 of you, if you want to take a shot at it. Just curious, with the preseason poll coming out yesterday, how much do you guys look at that or care about that or see where you guys ended up? Like, what's your reaction?
I can start. I mean, first to start off, obviously nobody in the Ivy League has played in so long. I think that whoever ranks that has a hard job anyway. But at the end of the day, it's motivation. I think we all see it as that. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about that.
Yeah, to second that, we as a team touched on it briefly, and we just said we were going to use it as fuel for our fire to make a run this year in the Ivy League.
You know what Coach Lloyd would say? Ranking schmankings.
No, I agree with them. I think it's an appropriate placement based on the players that we've lost to graduation. But we are incredibly focused on, we're not going to let that poll inform how we feel about ourselves. And it does provide a lot of motivation, I think, to prove to people what we can do on the court.
Great, and we have time for one more question from Jonathan Tannenwald. Do we have Jonathan here? Oh, his hand has been lowered. So he said he's still muted, but doesn't have a question anyway. So, okay, great. Well, I have one Zoom issue over the course of 3 hours, I think. So, all right. Well, then I've got one last one for you, Coach. As you look at this non-conference with how new your team is and how young your team is, like, does it put an even added emphasis on the non-conference schedule that you have compared to maybe a traditional year, knowing how much growing will have to occur from game to game?
Yeah, I do think the non-conference schedule is going to be incredibly important for us, but I don't feel a pressure around it, and I hope the team doesn't either. I think it's a good opportunity. We're heading into our first scrimmage this weekend, and I'm so excited about that because it's going to be an opportunity for us to learn about where we're really strong and where we need to focus. And that's how we approach each and every game. But certainly for me, I've never been the kind of coach that's been like, okay, it's all about the conference schedule. I think each and every game has such importance, and we can never take an opponent lightly. And so I'm really looking forward to the non-conference schedule. And I just want to give a shout out to our captains, Karina and Katie Douglas, who is in class right now, but they're just doing a tremendous job of leading this young team and communicating with us as a coaching staff. And then I think we have so much leadership throughout the team, like Emma provides each and every day, that's really made our job as coaches incredibly easy as a new staff. So again, I'm grateful for the leadership that we have here.
And we're grateful for the time you just spent with us. Thanks so much, Coach. Emma, Karina, best of luck getting things rolling.
Thank you so much.
Dartmouth opens up the season November 9th at home against Rhode Island. And coming up next year at Ivy League Women's Basketball Media Day, we'll be joined by the Yale Bulldogs.
Do we just leave? Oh, wait, are we still?
And we continue on here at Ivy League Women's Basketball Media Day with the Yale Bulldogs. In 2020, the Bulldogs posted a strong 18-8 record, 9-5 mark in Ivy League play, and finished third in the league standings. We have head coach Allison Guth with us, set to begin her 7th year with the program. We're also joined today by senior Alex Cade, one of the veteran leaders of this Bulldog squad, and junior Camila Emsbo, who averaged 15 points per game in the 2019-2020 season. Yale opens up the year at Providence on November 9th and starts Ivy play with Columbia on January 2nd. Welcome to all three of you. Coach, let's get things rolling with some opening thoughts on your team this year.
Bill, thank you so much for having us here. Camilla, Alex, and I are really excited to represent our program and share what our team has been up to. We are just thrilled to be back together again, even though we're on separate Zoom screens right now with our mask regulations over here. We are a unit that is excited to be together and playing the game we love. So we are focused right now just on getting 1% better each day. As you know, Bill, we graduated a lot of talent when we finished playing in the 2020 season of March, and then had a couple of our senior veteran players who played a lot of minutes for us move on in their life to law school and whatnot. And so we have an exciting opportunity for some young players to really step up and add to this veteran crew that you got with us right now. So we've been just really enjoying the time we're spending on really understanding and learning our new identity as a team. And so we've been doing that in our preseason, and this will be practice 13 today. And we're just excited about all there is to come and growing together as a unit.
If you look back to the last 3 seasons, twice qualified for Ivy Madness into the top 4. Do you feel like you've gotten this program up and running to the consistent level where you want it to be and expect to be now?
Yeah, Bill, that's a great question. I think if you were to have asked me while we were going into the Ivy tournament when it was canceled, I would tell you I felt really strong about the momentum that we had picked up and what this team has committed to, the discipline, the toughness, the grit that it takes to really operate as a champion each day, because we are so process driven versus results driven. We felt like we were in a space and place where breaking in the top 50 nationally, going into that Ivy tournament, we felt very confident with where we were at. I would tell you right now, the pandemic and having the season canceled is really taking a step back for us. And when we say a step back, it's just learning who we are now and what the team needs of me right now and what role that I can provide right now. And so that's kind of the challenge coaching right now. And it's an exciting one because you're getting to see the pieces come together and new pieces come together. I would tell you that this team is really, really hungry. And when they sat down and came up with their mission and their goals and where they're at, I would tell you they only want to take this program to the heights that they came here to do it with. So I have full confidence in them, and I think it's going to be a journey that we're gonna grow together.
Talk to me about the 2 players you got here with the how you've seen Alex kind of lead this group through the uncharted territory of the last 18 months. And then obviously Camilla's had a really strong start to her career, but how you saw her game grow over the last 18 months as well.
Yeah, I couldn't be more proud of these 2. Alex, Cade, I've told it to her and I just sense it and I feel it. She's just kind of the heart of this crew right now. I feel, her decision to kind of step away after 2 of her teammates moved on with their careers. She's just fantastically talented and is going to be a tremendous engineer when she leaves here at Yale, but she wanted to stay here. She wanted to get her year back with this team and she wanted to compete for a championship. And so I think it's sensed and felt in her drive, in her motor, in how she operates in practice each and every day. She's just a tough competitor and she's somebody that holds us accountable in practice, which is such a joy. Camilla, I think about the day that she decided she was going to come to Yale and what she wanted to do here and that she wanted to put a banner up and be a part of something, creating the history and the tradition here. The decision she's made to take a leave of absence when we had that year off and to represent her country and play for the national team in Denmark. And her game is just exponentially getting better. She's really one of our best perimeter defenders right now in practice. I tell her that her attention to detail and her hunger to want to get better is what makes her special. She has a humbleness about herself with as talented as she is. And it's my job to keep on pushing her to contribute and get to the next level. So these 2 have really set the tone amongst our other returners and leadership on really what it means to be a Yale Bulldog and the women that have come before them and where this program is headed and where they want to take it to.
We're going to open up here for questions shortly. So if you have a question for Yale, please raise your hand. Use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. Alex, I want to pick up with what Coach just said about your drive, your hunger, and your why. Can you talk about what it was that made you decide like it was worth coming back for this season and what it means to be part of building this program at Yale?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the main reason of why I took a year off is obviously the team environment and just being around these amazing women.
it's something that's hard to let go of, number one, but number two, going or having the Ivy League playoff like canceled was really heart-wrenching. And so to be able to come back and kind of help lead this team to win our way back there and to repeat that process over again and to come home with an Ivy championship is something that I'm really looking forward to helping our team accomplish, and just kind of growing this young team that we have into a phenomenal program for the future as well.
Great. And Camilla, how do you feel your game has grown since we last saw you play for Yale 18 months ago with that stint with the Danish national team?
I think like skill wise, my game may have changed a little bit, but more than anything, I think something that Coach Guth just touched on, it's more about the hunt that this past year has given us. Taking the year, sure, I got to play 4 games, with the national team, but that's not the same as a full Ivy League season. And so I think just really understanding what basketball means in the absence of it has been huge for our entire team in the lack of a season. And I think, me personally, and I know this holds true for the rest of the team, we're all just so pumped to get it back out on the floor and show the Ivy League what we're capable of. So I think that's the biggest, change for each and every one of our players.
All right, let's open it up and start things off with Jonathan Tannenwald.
Thanks, Bill. Hi, everybody. Question for Allison. As you said, it's been 18 months since there have been live games. How do you prepare this bunch for live games when it's been so long?
Jonathan, take it one day at a time. And I would tell you that there was a concept that I really kind of felt that was important with what your question is alluded to, where our concerns were as a coaching staff with how much individual skill development was going on for our players, yet the lack of opportunity to play together during that time was a struggle. So how we attacked it first, Jonathan, I'm very tangible. So we changed the entire way we did our preseason this year. We're usually very focused on reps and individual skill development. And this year we were way more focused on team workouts and understanding small group sessions to understand how this unit will play together, how we play to our strengths, how we learn what our strengths are, how we learn where our weaknesses are, so we could individually develop our players so that the group collectively can be the best that they could be. So we've played a lot more basketball together since the start of August when we got back to campus than we ever have before. More games, more up and down, more opportunity to see where we're at. And that was beneficial for me to see if we can run what I want to run and run defensively our package we want to run with the new bodies and strengths in the gym. Like what is our identity going to be? And so I think that's the way we tangibly focused on it. And then like our players, they just committed. When they got back to campus, they knew, like Camilla just said, the absence of not being together, that commitment to want to play together and open gyms and get to be on the court together again. That was just embraced right away. And now we'll get an opportunity this weekend to play our first opponent where we're not beating up on each other in practice. And so I know the team's really excited for that. We have a close scrimmage against Hartford. So I think the more opportunities we could have given our players to get back to competing against each other in a game setting was kind of how we approached it.
Great. Thanks, John, for the question. Rob Brown is next.
Hi, Coach. Rob Brown, Ivy Hoops Online. You mentioned this at the beginning about the players you lost. 4 of your top 6. That's a lot of minutes, a lot of points, a lot of rebounds, 3-point shooting. Who specifically are you looking to fill those roles? And also, who's going to take that leadership role that Roxy Bearman had of being the player that needed the ball in her hands as the clock wound down?
Rob, thank you so much for the question and recognizing some of the talent. And I love hearing those names and thinking about the brick by brick foundation that those players and previous players have set. I'm just so excited for you to get to see and know these players, like you just asked about, who are in the gym right now. For us, we know a lot of our experience is returned on the interior. We know that that's a focus for us, how we play inside out, and our team is loving it. We've always been a culture and a team that has celebrated what team basketball should look like, and that is the way we assist each other and share the basketball. In the last season we played, every game that we won, we averaged 13 assists or more. Every game we lost, we averaged 11 assists or less. And I think what this team is doing so well and enjoying so much is sharing the basketball inside and out. And like you mentioned, we had tremendous scoring on the perimeter and a playmaker, one of the best players I think that will play in the league, Roxy Bearman. She's playing pro in Greece right now, that will come back, and I even think have a shot at the league at one point. And she was definitely a playmaker. And I think what we're looking at, the people you can look at right now, I'm really liking what I see out of Jenna Clark at being a distributor on the floor and really setting the table for us as an extension of what Roxy did from a perspective as a point guard. We have some tremendous scorers in our gym right now. I think you need to keep your eyes on a Clara Astrom, who had minutes there as a first year, who really can light it up from three as a physical guard, who can get downhill in some of our offensive concepts. The players that are playing and will going to affect us a lot are players who can get the ball to Mills and Cade too. Like, that's going to be big for what we do. And so those players, we have people in the gym who have great knack and vision for the basketball right now. We have young people that are understanding our offense, and a Mackenzie Egger, but has an ability to get downhill and a real motor to her game that I'm excited about. And we've got a Chris McCann who can really shoot it, get that shot off well. So when you talk about losing Ellen Margaret and Tori and those pieces that can come in and play there, and then when you talk about the vision to the post and who gets the ball to the post, that's a big pride for our guards right now on who can do that. I think we have a returner in Robin Gallagher who sees the floor really well from that perspective and understands the game and has a high basketball IQ. Didn't get a ton of minutes, had some injuries that she had as a freshman and a sophomore here. But I think we've got a lot of pieces to the puzzle that I'm excited about. We have some really good young post players as well. Grace Thibault, to me, is a kid from Irvington, New York, that is really, really talented, fantastic when I talk about coachability. And she's just gonna have to contribute. She's behind these two really good gals right here on this call. So I think it's understanding we've got people come in the mix. I am very cognizant of the fact that the league has always celebrated experience. The league, when you see the champion, there are people who played a lot of minutes and have had the experience of playing. We're going to play to our strengths where we have not had experience. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and you can play a little freer. And so we're going to have some of that we're going to play to. And then I think when you asked me, Rob, the leadership and who are we going to lean into, I think you're looking at them on this call right now. The people that have been there before, played in the big game, can communicate and talk. We just coached a scrimmage yesterday, and these two, Alex Cade and Camilla Emsbo, they're running the timeouts with what they're seeing, how they're operating. The relationship I have with them is really special. There's just a lot of trust right here. So we can see something, talk about something. I was talking to Cade on a walk outside the gym the other day. We really need to get to that drag three to get to our beast pass. And she was like, you're so right. We never got to it all practice. So I'm just really having a ton of fun coaching up these guys. And Rob, I think you'll be excited to see a lot of new faces, but a lot of young talent in the gym.
Thanks, Rob, for the question. And finally, we'll bring in Jen Hatfield.
Hi, everybody. Jen Hatfield with the Next. Coach, good to talk with you again. Two kind of related questions. The first being, based on all that you said just now, did we rank you guys too low? And then just curious, what you think of the conference overall in terms of depth, top end talent, like all of that.
Jen, I appreciate the question. I really don't pay a ton of attention to the preview. I try to talk to our team. It's about the review that matters. Like when we look back on this, it's about the review that matters. And I would say when I saw the preseason rankings, I very much understand that just as you guys are professionals looking at the experience we graduated and where we're at, I think like anything, there's going to be some adversity we face in learning and just the experience, that factor. But I really have a trust and a faith in this group because of the returning experience we do have, combined with the talent that we've got coming in, that I think we're going to be a force. And I only focus on our team and us programmatically getting better. And so we have so much respect for this league, Jen. I mean, you guys nailed it in terms of understanding the success that Princeton has had, the defense that they play. I couldn't have more respect for Carla and how she led her program in the year that she came in. From top to bottom, this league has tremendous coaching and players that are fantastic players. I think the league is so strong. And so I got to be honest, I kind of preach to our team, comparison is the thief of joy. We're going to like focus right here on what we need to do to get better. And I think that the results take care of themselves when you're really process oriented. So no offense taken here, but ask our players, they may feel differently.
Camila, Alex, you have any thoughts on that?
I'll just say that I think that was probably a pretty tough job to rank these teams because, for us personally, we don't know how we're going to look out on the floor. We don't know how we're going to match up against teams because we don't know what players they're bringing back. So I think that that's what's really exciting about this year is that we're learning about ourselves, our identity, but we're also learning about Harvard's identities, Princeton identity. And I think in the Ivy League, you get pretty used to the players that you're playing against, and you learn their games almost as well as you know your own team's games. So I think this is kind of throwing a fun, interesting wrench in that, and we're going to get to figure it out on the fly. So I agree with Coach Guth in that it's really important right now to focus on ourselves programmatically because that's the only thing we can control. And we've got a lot of time to make up for in terms of learning who we are as a program and how we deal with each other, how we play on the floor.
I'll just second that. It's well spoken.
Great. And I see we have a couple more hands up, but unfortunately we have hit our allotted time with the Yale Bulldogs. So we'll give you the opportunity to ask some questions to Penn when they come up next. But Coach Guth, Alex, Camila, really appreciate the time you spent with us and look forward to seeing you get your season started on November 9th against Providence.
Bill, thank you so much. We thank you for covering us, and this was awesome to have a media day. We're just super jazzed. Go Bulldogs.
We're excited too. So Yale gets things going in just a few weeks' time, and coming up next year at Ivy League Women's Basketball Day, we'll have the Penn Quakers join us next. All right, let's keep things rolling here with the Quakers of Penn, who finished second in the Ivy League in 2020 with a 10-4 league mark and a 20-7 overall record. Picked second again in the preseason poll. I see Coach Mike McLaughlin with us here, entering his 13th season leading the Quakers. He's led them to 4 Ivy championships and 3 trips to the NCAA tournament. Penn gets off to the latest start in the league. They'll open things up against Hartford on November 14th. Penn brings back, as we mentioned off the top of Ivy Media Day, the reigning Ivy League Rookie of the Year, Caleb Padilla, is back. And also here on the call, we'll be joined by seniors Kennedy Suttle and senior Nikki Kovachikova, who will make her Penn debut this year. She played 2 years at Georgetown before transferring to Penn, a member of the Slovakian women's national team as well. Mike, let's get things started with you. Give us some opening thoughts on this edition of the Quakers.
Yeah, good afternoon, Bill. Thanks for having us on. It's an exciting day for our league. But yeah, it's exciting. I mean, all we've been working really hard over the pandemic to try to prepare us for this opportunity. We had a very good off season, not a long off season, but we had a very good one in terms of trying to grow a new group together, hold each other to a high standard, just to do the things in a program that you do behind the scenes. We had more of an opportunity to do it. We lost some incredible players and incredible leaders here. So we have new voices here. I think I just heard a little bit of Allison. It's exciting. I mean, it's great to watch some younger players change roles. It's great to see some new players come in, and at least in our program, they're going to have to play quicker than they may have done in the past here. But we're really progressing. We have a very energized group. It's an unbelievable group to coach. The energy in the gym, the positivity on the team, the willingness to be coached. It's been awesome. My assistants have been incredible. So we're off to a great start. We have some challenges ahead, like everyone in our league. But we're going to go at this head on, and we're off to a great start.
How different was this preseason practice compared to previous preseason practices? Did you have to do a lot different just because you had everybody all back together for the first time in almost a year and a half?
Yeah, it reminds me, like you said, I've been at Penn 13 years. It reminds me more of my second or third year here at Penn, when you're now kind of reestablishing, the way you want to play and how you want to conduct yourself professionally every day, how you want the program to look inside to out. Reminds me a little of that. We were at that time, a lot of freshmen and sophomores, very little experience. They really haven't had a taste of winning. There's a lot of things inside the program that we really did well at that time. Reminds me a little bit of that. I think the difference here is that we've now established a culture of winning. We have some very good players returning and led by Caleb Padilla. So we're very fortunate that we have a player to play around. But it reminds me of that. The coaching piece of it is so new to a lot of the players. It's exciting for me as a coach. This is my 27th year as a head coach. I'm looking forward to this. It's definitely been an exciting challenge, but definitely one that is requiring us to slow down a little bit, and take this literally day by day, not coach speech, but take it day by day in terms of, did we improve today? Did we do this better than we did yesterday? And I think it's really exciting. I think that's what coaching is all about, trying to, evolve around what we have and create something new as well.
Great. I think you got Kennedy and Nikki in there with you. Can you talk about what those two are going to bring to your team this season?
Yeah, Kennedy's been exceptional. We have 3 returning players that played since last time we tipped. Kennedy being one of them, me and Laxagalia, and I mentioned Kayla. Kennedy's been exceptional. Her leadership, her play has been very good. She has really taken that next step that you would only hope that your players take. And Nikki's new to the program, but she was here last year. We did have an opportunity to practice a little bit in the spring. I think it benefited her. She comes with a little bit more experience. She has 2 years of college basketball experience under her belt. Unfortunately, she will only play 1 year here at Penn because she was scheduled to graduate in May. But her leadership, she plays on the Slovakian national team, so she's played against some older players, which we really need experience right now. I think that's where we're heading, to get as much experience in game play and game practice as we possibly can. But they both have been exceptional.
Great. And got a question for Kennedy, if she slides on in here. So Penn, Kennedy, has a real history, obviously, of having great physical forwards and posts. How do you see yourself fitting into that role in your senior season?
Sure. So, I can't compete with the history of the program, but I guess I'm kind of unique in a sense that I'm a little bit smaller than most posts, so I'm a bit quicker underneath, and I utilize that to get rebounds and just play. But yeah, I will definitely miss playing with Aaliyah and like the seniors that I've played with as posts, but I'm excited to play with Jordan, Silka, and a few other posts on the team as well. So looking forward to it all.
Great. Nikki, Coach mentioned having that year last year at Penn. How valuable was that year in terms of, adjusting to the culture and adjusting to some of your teammates and getting that experience before diving into a season of competitive basketball?
Sure. And first of all, thank you for having us. We really appreciate that. And I think the last year was very beneficial for me. It's just kind of getting to know the school, getting to know the program itself, the people here, because I think the culture we're cultivating here every single day is what's special about this program. And I'm just super happy that I didn't just jump into this program basically 2 months ago. So I really much appreciate it. I was able to come to the campus, even though because of COVID, it was maybe more difficult than usual. It was a little bit different as for probably all of us, but I loved it. I got very close to my team, kind of tried to get the sense of like what this team is going to look like and try to soak in all the culture which we cultivate here. So I really think it was very beneficial and I loved it. So.
Great. We're going to open it up to questions. If you have a question for either Coach McLaughlin or for Kennedy or Nikki, please use the raised hand feature here at the bottom of your screen. And we're going to start with Glenn Papazian.
Thank you. First question for Coach. Mike, in a situation like this, where you're coming in after a year off, how important was junior and senior leadership, going to be to the team this year?
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. Good to hear from you. I hope you're well. It's really important. Our freshmen now are juniors in playing time. We have two sophomores in the class that haven't played college basketball, and we have 5 freshmen. So, but we do have mature juniors and seniors as people, as leaders. So we're really relying on them. I think you could ask both of them sitting here today that, we've really asked them from the summer, from last spring to the summer to help us lead this team. And as Kenny alluded to, we had some great players ahead of her, but we also had some exceptional leaders. But we're really going to rely on them to help this team continue to grow.
And Kennedy, how much did you learn from those that came before you now that you'll have the opportunity to be the leader?
Right. I think I've learned most is to speak up and not shy away from helping others, I guess. So I mostly look towards Tori in a sense that she kind of approaches her players and teammates on one-on-one. And going back to Chrissy, her volume and motivation and energy, I just try to aspire to do those things. And I pick off from each one. I could do that all day, but just trying to all combine it together and lead the team in a positive way.
And Nikki, are you becoming more familiar with your teammates? And is this familiarity on the floor growing each day, as Coach kind of alluded to?
Oh, yes, definitely. I think the diversity we have here within the team is very beneficial for just the team chemistry itself. Each of us is different, but each of us has the specific role and contribute to the team with specific skills. So I really do think that this is the way, a good way we're heading right now, and we are all very excited for this season. And obviously, we just can't wait for our first game and scrimmage to come. So.
Great, thanks. And we'll bring Jonathan Tannenwald back in now.
Thanks, Bill. Hey, Mike.
Hey, John.
What was it like? What's it been like walking back into the Palestra now, knowing that there's going to be games in a few weeks after being in there in the spring, knowing you were practicing and it was good for practice, but you weren't going to be playing any games?
Well, I spent, a year in the Palestra by myself. We were shut down. I often sat in the Palestra doing work, and most of the time, no one else was in there. So to see anyone in the Palestra as time went on was special. But you know how special that building is to not only our athletes, but Penn in general, Philadelphia in general, and the basketball community. So, it looks great in there. I had a nice little facelift. The players are excited when we're in there. I couldn't ask for any. It reminds me again, and for me personally, is when I first got here, how exciting it is to go back in there, to see the lights on and see the players out there. There's nothing like it.
Okay, thanks, John. Jen Hatfield's up next.
Hey everybody, Jen Hadfield with the Next. Coach, good to talk with you again. At the risk of oversimplifying things, with Aaliyah gone and Kayla back, how guard oriented is this team going to be, and how has Kayla gotten better?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a little bit different, obviously, without having that post where the ball entered, late in clocks, during the clock, to make sure we at least play off her or around her. So that's going to be a little bit different. I think, Jen, this team is built a little bit more from the perimeter than we've been in a little while, led by Kayla. Kayla has been exceptional. She's a better player than she left us a year and a half ago. She's more experienced. She's always been an awesome teammate, but she's now taken that to another level in terms of adding a leadership responsibility. So we'll be a little more perimeter oriented, but we do have Kennedy sitting right here, and we do have a young lady, Jordan Obi, who has been exceptional early here that I think we're going to actually be able to play through a lot. So we will be a little bit different, but I think you'll see a very similar type team. You're going to see a very committed, team-oriented, pass first, play the game the right way, play it together, share the ball. I think you'll see different people out here for sure. There's going to be a lot of new faces and new names, but hopefully we can play a very similar style with just different people.
Great, we've got time for one or two more questions. Rob Brown is next up.
Hi, Coach. You mentioned Jordan. Is there anybody else in the older group or the newcomers that's really impressed you during the practices? And also, since most of your students were on campus last year, did that help you in the transition for this season?
Yeah, let me go backwards. Yeah, it did. It did help us in the transition. We were able to practice in the spring. I think that was probably, 8 weeks of workouts where what was really special about the program that our players have built is that all of our seniors participated, and that was really special to finish on the floor, even in a practice setting, was really special. And I think what it did show was, the commitment to this program. And I couldn't be any more impressed with our 5 seniors. And what was your question again? I'm sorry, Robert.
Oh, other than Jordan, who else has impressed you in the practice sessions?
Yeah, I think, Mia Laxagalia is playing really well. She's one of the 3 that have competed here at Penn the most. She has done very well. Meg Hare, who's someone who has not played a whole lot at Penn, is a tremendous teammate and a really good fit right now for this group that we'll put together. I think Silka you'll see her out there this year. She'll have a role in the team. She has definitely improved. And I think the freshmen, we do have another transfer, that a junior, Sydney Caldwell, that has also played 2 years at Arizona State. She comes with some experience. And I think our freshmen are adapting. They have days where, they're moving in the right direction. And the typical freshman, they take a couple steps backwards. But I'm really proud of the way they're dealing with adversity and really watching the older players compete every day.
Great. Let's bring Mitchell Northam in next.
Hey, thanks you all for doing this and taking the time.
You're welcome.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Gotcha, Mitchell.
Okay, great. Awesome. Yeah, thanks for doing this. Doing some work for City of Basketball Love. Yeah, I just wanted to know, Kennedy, you're one of the most experienced of the returning players, from your sophomore season. Just wondering kind of in that time, the COVID year and then even this off season, what have you done to sort of improve your game, and kind of, I guess, how hard was it if you were doing that on your own during that COVID kind of stretch?
Sure. So we actually got workouts from our coaches, and we're holding each other accountable through group messages and making sure we work out. But personally, I'm a huge family person. I'm the oldest of 6, and I play against my siblings when I go back home and do 1-on-1, 2-on-2s with them. So That's how I personally kept the ball in my hand and got a little better and competed with them and got them better as well. But I don't know, it was a full circle, but I'm glad to be back. Glad to be back. Yeah.
Thanks.
Great, Mitchell. Thank you. And I got time for one more question. We're going to bring Jen Hatfield back in.
Thanks, Bill. This is for Nikki. We've talked a little bit about your experience last year and just wanted to ask you specifically about your experience playing in Eurobasket and how you think that helped you get ready for the season or how it helped you improve.
Yes, definitely. I've played for my national team for a couple of years now, and I always really appreciate it every single time I get to be on a team, but whether it was under 20 or under 18, but mostly the senior national team, which I was playing past 2 summers for. I think it gave me a lot of experience in case of the leadership and I was the youngest on the team, so I was always the one that was looking up to other people, and we had a couple of great players, which I was very honored to play with them. And I think I learned from their experiences and just their basketball skills, either on and off the court, a lot. And that's kind of my goal, to transfer all of these experiences and leadership skills and all the knowledge I have, which is often very different compared to the style we play here. But I think it brings like the diversity to the team, and just as I said, like I would like to transfer some of the skills to the team, and hopefully it will work out for us.
Great, Nikki, thank you. Mike, Kennedy, thanks for the time as well. I look forward to seeing the Quakers open up this season in about 3 weeks' time and follow you along all year.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate you having us.
Thank you.
Penn Quakers open up the season at Hartford on November 14th. Stick with us here. Coming up in just a minute or so's time, we'll have the Cornell Big Red joining us here on Ivy Women's Basketball Media Day.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, looks like the gang is all here from the Cornell Big Red. Cornell coached by the second longest tenured coach in the Ivy League, Dana Smith, who enters her 19th season as the head coach at Cornell. You can see junior Shannon Mulroy is with us, top returning scorer for the Big Red. She averaged 8.3 points per game and led the team in assists back in the 2019-2020 season. And Cornell senior Teresa Grace Mbenefo, who averaged 5.5 points and 5 rebounds a game as a sophomore, is with us here as well. Cornell opens the season in Ithaca versus Colgate on November 9th before heading to Winston-Salem to take on Wake Forest on November 12th. And as Coach Smith pops in here, Coach, welcome. We're going to start things off here with an opening statement from you about this group that you have and the season you're about to embark on.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to be here. And nice of you guys to host this for all of us. Super excited, like everyone has said, where the people have been able to catch there at the end. We're really excited that we're able to play basketball. We're able to be together out on the court. It was quite an experience and journey to get to this point. So every day we feel very lucky just to be able to go out and play basketball. It's going to be a real interesting season for us. We are extremely young. I know some people have said that. We have 9 new faces, 9 freshmen, sophomore, 1 transfer that's never practiced and played in a game. We never got to practices last year during COVID. So a lot of learning, a lot of newness in every little thing we do, not just plays and schemes, but what we stand for on both ends of the ball, what we stand for as a Cornell women's basketball player, how to navigate life as a student, coming to practice and lifting and running and all the training hours for injury, just everything is new. And it's definitely been a fun journey with them. I think when you have a lot of young people and a lot of newness, every day brings something different. And so as an old woman, they keep me on my toes. We've had some fun days with them. The one thing I can say, our team is very coachable. I think they love to listen and learn, but there are going to be quite a few growing pains, I know. We've lost over 75-80% of our scoring, our rebounding, our defensive playmaking. So we're in a situation where every single person is in a different role. I think COVID clearly affected the seniors that left. They lost that season, and the incoming freshmen not having a chance to transition into college, but the sophomore and junior classes, they lost a year of being able to play with upperclassmen, a year of learning how to be leaders, a year of taking a step from maybe being a role player into someone that's really relied on. So we're trying to do that in such a short version of time, shortened condensed season of time. So it's been challenging. We've had 3 players and returning that have had double figure minutes. And so we'll see a lot of them on the court and a lot of new faces. But I've loved our energy. I loved our excitement for every single day. They laugh a lot, which makes me laugh, which is probably a good thing. And it's hard to do on the court. And we're just enjoying the time together, and we're excited to get going and see where we are.
You mentioned just how young you are, and even in terms of experience when you lost what you have from your previous groups. With all that being said, are there any positions right now that you feel really good about? And then what are maybe the biggest areas that are keeping you up when you're starting to think about what needs to be ready come 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then a couple months time come Ivy play?
Well, I feel really good about the 2 people on the screen here with me. Those are the positions that are they don't make me lose sleep at night. Obviously TG and Shannon have really played quite a few minutes, and they understand what Ivy play is about. They understand the grind of it. The rules are going to change, obviously, with production expectations as far as points and assists and rebounds. They're not filling in behind somebody. They are the somebody. But I know both of them have come in unbelievable shape. They've had high energy. They've been great leaders for our team. And so I feel really good about the 2 of them, which is important. You have your point guard that has a lot of respect from the team and can help the coaches and staff pull along the young people. And TG has just brought in this immense energy and excitement for the season and for what her new role is. And it's been infectious. The team has really leaned on her for that. So both of them have helped me keep calm a little bit. As far as what the other unknowns are, everything else, everything else is unknown. We have a whole new forward core, pretty much a whole new guard core. There are days that people are showing up and showing us that they can earn time, and there are other days that we really have to take a couple steps back and teach over. So that's what we're trying to get to now. We need to eliminate those days where we have to take a step back and reteach and try to continue to build and move upward and forward on a consistent basis.
Great. Anyone with questions for Cornell, please use the raised hand button at the bottom of your screen. Shannon, we usually see and talk about the growth from someone's freshman to sophomore season. Well, you've had 18 months here to grow since your freshman year. How much do you feel your game has improved, and what specifically were you working on over the last year and a half?
I would say it was nice to be able to just have last year, even though it was really devastating not having a season. It was nice to be able to get in and get skill workouts with our coaches instead of focusing on more like team oriented stuff. So I think one thing I was trying to get better at was one, like my assist to turnover ratio, and then 2, just becoming a more consistent shooter.
Great. And TG, as one of the veterans on this group, as a senior, how important, how much pressure did you feel to step in and be a leader right off the bat? And who did you, learn from, maybe folks ahead of you, and how they led the team that you kind of pulled from over the last year and a half?
Yeah, I think my role as leader has kind of come naturally to me, which I'm appreciative of. Everyone seems to be really responsive to me, even the young people. So I really appreciate that on the team side. But I think, Laura last year was a tremendous help for me. We're both Minnesota natives. So I took time to meet with her and take advantage of all the wisdom she had to offer when I was back home last year. So I'm definitely going to take some things from her, and as well as Sam Widman. I mean, I think in practice, Sam Widman was high energy for us, and I'm hoping to replicate that throughout the season.
Great. Let's open it up to folks, and we'll start with Jonathan Tannenwald.
Thanks, Bill, and thank you all for the time. Dana, you mentioned how much is unknown, and obviously that's a theme around the league going into things because nobody's played for such a long time. But do you think that by January, there'll be enough tape out on everybody that you'll be able to scout the rest of the league once the time comes that you need to?
Yeah, no question. I think that, January 2nd is our first game, and we'll definitely have tape on people. We'll be able to understand what teams are trying to do. I think our unknowns right now are just for our individual selves as coaches, who we're going to be able to rely on. I think early on in this season, for us at least, I shouldn't speak for other coaches, but it might be the same for them. Trying different lineups, seeing how people mesh together, seeing who you can rely on, seeing who steps up in a moment, who follows game plans, who understands how to make adjustments. This is probably the first year since, I think I told this to the captains in a meeting the other day, the first year that I felt like it's a brand new season since my first year here, which was like Stone Age, right? It's all new. It's all new. So our first scrimmage is this weekend. Just excited to see how people respond to that. I think that's what's going to be very, very interesting for our league. Some are going to be a little bit better at it than others based upon who they have coming back. But for us, that's where we're going to be. So yeah, January 2nd, I hope we know where we are and what type of team we have.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jonathan. Next, we'll bring in Jen Hatfield again.
Hi, everybody. Jen Hadfield with the Next. Thank you so much for your time. Coach, you've mentioned all the unknowns. Just curious if you can talk a little bit about what your vision is for what this group will go into and how you'll be playing, once you get your feet under you and kind of get some of those questions answered. What are you guys going to look like?
Well, we hope to look like a hardworking team. I think we take great pride in that on a yearly basis. Defensively, we like to mix it up. We like to press. Team-oriented defenses. I think we're in the process of implementing that now. I think I see some great signs in that. With the type of zones and the pressing that we're able to do. I think we have some unique players where their instincts are pretty good. We were probably a more defensive oriented team 2 years ago. We had Sam Widman and Laura, have TG just mentioned, phenomenal instincts. We were top in the league in steals or close to it because of the two of them. But I think that's right now what we're trying to gauge. We'd like to be that. I know on offense, right now we've been able to run. I think we have some more shooters this year, which is nice. It kind of opens things up for people like Teresa Grace down low. We've been able to shoot the three a little bit more. So like Shannon mentioned, we never got to the point where we were able to practice a whole team last year. But we had, hours in the gym with very small groups or one or two people where we were able to work on skill work. You were 6 feet away from each other. You have to work on skill work, right? So we had a lot of that, and I think people did improve their individual play. And now we need to mesh it, and that's our job as coaches.
Great. Next, we'll hear from Rob Brown.
Hi, Coach. Question, so much has gone on, whether it's a campus, whether it's the larger world. How do you feel compared to when you left the court in 2020? How much are you a stronger coach now than you were then?
I mean, wow, what a question. It was just a really interesting year and a half as a person. A stronger basketball coach, I don't know. I don't know where that is right now. I think I'm more patient. I don't know. Maybe you have to ask these two. You're more excited just to have the opportunity to be with them. But I think as a coach and as a person, there was more work done off the court, thinking about how you approach things, some of the issues that have come up in the world, sometime to reflect things within your program, within your alums. I feel like I've become a stronger person. I hope I'm a better person. I hope we all learned and grew about the appreciation of what we get to do. We come to work every day and we go into a gym. It's a pretty fun job. Sometimes you get beat down through the years with recruiting and this and that, and it kind of it becomes hard. The challenges that you have with your own universities, the challenges you have within your league. I just feel like it's almost last year was just, let's all take a step back. And for me personally, I'm appreciative of the year, and I feel like this year, even though my players sometimes drive me crazy, I love being in the gym with them.
We'll hear next from Nathan Solomon.
Hey, Coach, Nathan Solomon, Ivy Hoops Online. Good to speak with you again. A couple questions. First, as you mentioned earlier, a lot of inexperience on the team. That being said, how do you and the coaching staff prepare for the season? Do you kind of have an idea of what your rotations and depth chart will look like, or is that kind of more trial and error throughout non-conference play?
I think we're starting to get to the stage of the depth chart forming itself. I think we have an idea of who is picking things up, who is adding something to practice, who is becoming someone we can count on and understand what they're going to be able to give us. I think all of our players are still, very in a stage where they're just starting to develop their games. So I do think it's starting to come together, but like I said, there's nothing like competition. There's nothing like being out there against Colgate on November 9th and seeing how you respond to a run by them, or a defensive stop that we need, and who you can put in there and who's locked in and who's not. So yes, I do believe it is forming, but I do think as a staff, because we literally only had 3 players earn any type of double-digit minutes, every single experience is new for about 80% of the team. So we are going to have to utilize the non-conference season to see, who can we put in these different types of situations, and who's going to be able to connect with the players that do have their feet firmly on the ground and earning those significant minutes.
And on the note of non-conference play, when developing as a team, how much do you look at wins and losses versus just growing and improving for conference play?
Well, we're competitors and we hate losing, right? We talked about this. You want to win everything. Anytime you step on the court, any drill, anything, that's what drives us. And that's what was taken away from us last year, and that's what we're excited about this year. But I think as the head coach, yes, I have to look big picture, long term, and realistically, in my mind, the season starts January 2nd. That's our first Ivy game at Dartmouth, and we have to be ready for that moment. But yes, we're going to want to win. We're going to have to understand and learn from losses and wins, to be honest. And it's going to be an interesting journey. But I don't think we're in a position where we're not going to win until January. So that's our mindset. But
yes, we need to learn and grow and build our team for our first Ivy League game.
Great. And we have time for one more question from Jonathan Tannenwald.
Thanks. What do you see at this point, Dana, when you look around the rest of the league? I mean, as you said, by January there will be enough tape. But right now, as you look around, what do you see in trying to gauge everybody else?
There's some teams that have significant people back. So I know these coaches for a long time. They're wonderful people. I'm not buying some of the stock they're selling that they're young. So I know that we all think we're young, but there's some really talented athletes in our league, and there's some very, very strong teams that have a core together, and that's what you need. And our league is so good, and the coaches in our league are so good that they're going to be able to develop people around their core. So I know that there's a couple teams out there that are going to be at the top of the league right off the bat, and they should be. And the challenge is, can we go knock them down? And that's what we're going to plan on doing.
Great, Coach. Shannon, Teresa Grace, thank you very much for your time. Cornell starts its season November 9th in Ithaca against Colgate, then goes quickly to Winston-Salem to take on Wake Forest November 12th. Best of luck getting the season rolling.
Thank you. Thanks for doing this, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In just a bit, we'll be joined by Columbia. So stick with us here. Our final team of 8, the Columbia Lions, coming up next on Ivy League Women's Basketball Media Day. And our 8th and final team here at Ivy League Women's Basketball Media Day today is the Columbia Lions. Columbia went 17-10 in 2020, 8-6 in the Ivy League to punch a ticket to Ivy Madness with a 4th place finish, picked 3rd in this year's preseason poll. I think Griffith in her 6th year as the head coach with Columbia. Lions returned their top 2 scorers, sophomore Abby Shue, junior Sienna Durr. They combined to average 27 points per game back in the 2019-2020 season. Abby is with us today, as is junior Caitlin Davis, who you can see on your screen as well. Columbia opens its season hosting Hampton on November 9th. And some of the highlights of the non-conference schedule include trips to Clemson and Georgetown, along with a matchup against Missouri at the Lehigh tournament in November. Coach, welcome. Let's start with some opening thoughts on your group this year.
Yes. Hi, Bill. How's it going? Good. Well, so you guys saved the best for last. So we're excited about that. But we are thrilled to be playing again. I can just say that, I want to start off by really thanking everybody that made this year possible, from the athletic directors and the presidents, down to the Ivy League, and Robin and her staff, and everybody that's just making the season possible for us in the safest way. So I'm really excited that we get to be back together. And, I think the brand of Columbia women's basketball that everybody's going to see this year is going to be very exciting. I think it's just the start for us, building off of 2 seasons ago. And we have 2 fantastic young women here that are going to be able to tell you a lot more than that. So I'll kind of cut it there. But again, thank you for having this. And we're really looking forward to competing again this season.
Great. I'll start with a question for you, and then we'll move on here to Abby and Caitlin afterwards. But I'm curious, is it possible to carry momentum over from 2020 and making Ivy Madness, or now that we're 18 months later, is it even possible to have that momentum and build on that success 18 months later?
I think it all depends on how you look at it, right? So for us, absolutely. I mean, I would say, that's absolutely something. We have unfinished business. That's just, we talk about that all the time as a staff, as a program. So if we weren't talking about 2 years ago, I don't know what we're doing, honestly, because that's the last time we were all together. So I think there's a lot of momentum to build off of. We were an extremely young team. We started all underclassmen 2 seasons ago, which means we have everybody back, including 2 all Ivy players that you already mentioned. What does that mean? We all kind of are starting at the same point right now, not having a season, not getting to practice together. But this team has one goal, one mission, and we know what that is, and it's just important that we stay locked into that.
Great. Abby, I mentioned how you and Sienna combined for the 27 points last year, and with very comparable numbers in terms of points. I think one scored 14 a game, one scored 13 a game. How do you feed off Sienna's game, and then how do you think her game feeds off your game as well?
Yeah, so here we have to say, like, we're all energy givers, we're not just focused on ourselves, we're always trying to lift each other up. So, not with just Sienna, but anyone who I play with on this team, I feel like they're always encouraging me and I have their back as well. So it's fun playing with this crew.
Great. Caitlin, how do you feel your game has evolved and grown over the last 18 months since we last saw you play?
I think, just like people have mentioned before, skill work was very important this past year, but also staying connected with our team through other means. So just being a leader in that I'm bringing everybody along and making sure that my teammates and I are all focused on the same mission.
Great. I will open it up shortly to questions from the media. If you have a question for anyone here from Columbia, please click the raise hand button on the bottom of your screen. Megan, I'm curious your thoughts on how the 10-week schedule in the Ivy play is going to change things, and having some weeks with one game, some weeks still with the back-to-backs, how you think that'll play out.
Yeah, I think it's all how you embrace it, right? And for us, change is a great thing. I think that, I've been a part of this league for a very long time as a player and now a coach. And, I think the Ivy League is always a little bit apprehensive to make some changes, but I'm really thrilled, starting with the tournament ever how many years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And now this, I think these are all really positive trends in the game. And it's just allowing us to not have those big breaks and pauses in the middle of our season. So I think this is a really positive decision that was made. I'm looking forward to really just diving in head first after Christmas break to get after it and get ready for the gauntlet we have here.
Great. Let's open things up and start with Jen Hatfield.
Hey, everybody. Jen Hadfield with the Next. Coach, what's your favorite thing about how your team is looking on the court so far this season? And what are you kind of still trying to figure out before you open the season?
Jen, that's like a loaded question. There's a lot of things we're still trying to figure out. But my favorite thing is just how they treat each other. I mean, we have an amazing team, amazing group of young women in our staff that have just bought completely into what our program's culture is. And I think that's really rare when you have all 20 people in the gym locked into the same thing. This is the first year that I've actually talked like the least in practice. So it's like, well, I'm sorry, I phrased that wrong. I just haven't talked nearly as much as in other years. So I would just say that this team is ready to be player led, and I'm really excited about that and what that holds for our future. And then, in terms of what we need to work on, like I said, we have a lot of things we need to work on. But, I think just like being really high effective level communicators. And, I think that's something we talk about every day, but, that's when really good teams become great.
Next question from Rob Brown.
Hi, Coach. A couple personnel questions first. I guess in 2 years ago, you started off with Michaela running the point, and then you switched to Carly. So I'm just kind of curious who's going to start this year. And also if you could talk about your transfer, Jada Patrick from Duke.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have the beauty of our team is we have a lot of players, a lot of good players that can play all over the place. And, Carly and Michaela, we're still figuring out lineups exactly. We don't have a starting lineup right now. So hopefully after this weekend and our next exhibition game, I'll be able to tell you more, Rob. But right now we don't really have a starting point guard or anybody right now. If they're all still competing for their spots. Jada Patrick is somebody, hometown kid. We're really psyched to have her back here in New York. Coming to us from Duke, as we all know, but she's an electric player, extremely athletic, and just the thing that I think is even most impressive is she's a really high character person, so she treats her teammates really well. She's extremely coachable, and I think she's going to make a big splash in the league.
Abby, you shot near the top of the league 41% from three in the 2019-2020 season.
Bill, it was the top. It wasn't
Yeah,
just near the top.
the top spot in the Ivy League. I'm just curious because like that doesn't just come. Shooters shoot and shoot and shoot in practice. How many shots do you think you put up on an average day?
A lot. Couldn't give you a number, but a lot. And I have to thank the coaching staff and my teammates for giving me that confidence and also getting in the gym with me. It's not just me in the gym shooting. We're all getting in the gym. So.
Right. And Megan, obviously there's been a lot written and talked about for Abby and Sienna and how they play together, the numbers they put up. I want you to shine the light on, a couple of the other players on your squad who you think without them, you wouldn't have had the success maybe you did, and you won't have the success that you're hoping for this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're looking at one of them right now. Caitlin Davis is, if anybody has watched her play, I think they know how much that she leaves a mark on the game in practice every day, in games. She is just, she's like Magic Johnson. That's what I've always said. I even told her that when we were recruiting her. She just makes the game so fun. And she connects the pieces for you really well. She can literally do everything if that you ask her to. Now, some things better than others, right, Cade? But, that's where she is a work in progress, and she's totally embracing just, trying to get better in a lot of different ways. But I mean, she can play 1 through 5, and just she erases mistakes for our team. So Caitlin, you already touched on Carly and Michaela. Those are 2 really important people. Michaela's our only senior this year, and I just think that the level of communication that both of them operate at is elite. They are coaches on the floor. And Carly, honestly, she's like our command general. She thinks the game like a coach, and it's really great to have that on the floor because she takes care of everybody, and Michaela's right there with her doing the same thing. Lillian Kennedy is the last person I'll highlight right now. She is also a very high level thinker at the forward position. She's been battling injuries her entire career, but she's just somebody that holds us together defensively and just knows our playbook inside and out, and is a great energy giver to the program. So, it's a fun class. We have a really big junior class, and Michaela's our lone senior right now, but I think you're going to see also a lot of new faces that have never even worn the Columbia jersey yet. We have 2 classes that are also going to really make a big impact for us.
Let's bring Jen Hatfield back in with another question.
Hey, this is for all 3 of you if you want to take a stab at it. We've talked about how you guys have this momentum from 2 years ago. You bring everybody back. You're also not the favorite in the preseason poll. Do you feel like you have a target on your back, or do you feel like an underdog? And, how are you thinking about where you guys might fit heading into the season here?
I'll let them take that first. You've heard me talk a lot already, so why don't you guys jump in?
I would just say that's not our main focus right now. I think we're just our main focus is growing as a program every day, and yeah, if you want to carry off that, if you have anything.
Absolutely. We're just focused on each day and taking it one day at a time. So what happens in March happens in March, but right now we're focused on us right now.
I'm not going to let you guys off the hook that easily. Do you still have are you still playing with that chip on your shoulder? Do you feel like you're getting the respect that you deserve at this point?
I mean, we're always going to play with the chip on our shoulder regardless. So if that answers that question.
Yeah. Great. We're going to bring Rob Brown back in with another question as well.
Hi, Coach. I'm actually thought, my first question was going to be like Bill's, with that idea of billboard material from the 3rd spot. But I'm curious, in the past you've mentioned, and you even did today, about that idea of having a player-led team, especially in game situations. Were you worried with the year away that was going to be something that needed time to develop?
Great question, Rob. So no, I wasn't. I think that's the one thing that we could control, right, during this whole past year was how do we stay connected, and how does the conversations, and maybe they weren't always necessarily talking about basketball, but everything that we were doing was all about empowering, these 2 young women and everybody else in the program to use their voice. And I think the more that we learn how to connect with each other through communication versus just talking, is how we actually became even more connected in this virtual space. I think we all talk to each other probably more than we did when we were in person 2 years ago, right? I mean, I don't know how many FaceTimes, in-person visits were obviously limited, but you know, I was FaceTiming with our players all the time. They were talking to each other. We still stayed connected every week in some capacity. So I think player leadership was just the next kind of almost obvious step for this program. And, you know, hats off to our players for really embracing that and making the time for each other.
Coach, did you plan this non-conference schedule with trying to put your team in some tough spots in mind? You know, having the road games at Clemson and Georgetown, you'll see a SEC team in Missouri in the non-conference. Are you hoping to get in some spots where you have to like deal with adversity, handle adversity, and see how you respond?
Absolutely, Bill. That was a big, important, you know, piece for us heading into this season, was to be battle tested for the conference. Our conference is very good. You know, our coaches have done a great job to bring in high quality players to the league. And, you know, I know we all say this, but, you know, it's really hard to get good non-conference opponents. So we were lucky to be able to nail some of these people down early. And, you know, I'm excited to see what we can do. You know, I think the goal of non-conference is to prepare you as best as possible for March, right? And that was the goal with how we scheduled this year.
Great. And finally, going to end it with one for Caitlin. If this team has an identity, what do you think the identity of this group is, or are you still working to find that identity?
I would say this team, our identity is just making sure that everybody's bought in. I think every day we're working on that and just focusing on the goal at hand that day. And I think what comes with that is just being team focused. So everybody is making sure everybody is prepared. We have each other's back. And I think our identity is really just being a solid team, like team oriented.
Great. Well, Megan, Abby, Caitlin, really appreciate the time. Best of luck getting the season going in less than 3 weeks here against Hampton.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Columbia Lions picked third in the preseason poll. Start the year November 9th against Hampton. Start Ivy League play on January 2nd. Again, that wraps up Ivy League Women's Basketball Media Day. Appreciate all of you joining us throughout the course of the last few hours. If you're looking for any recordings of the day's work or the full recording, again, you can email Caitlin Zook, the Ivy League's office's women's basketball communications contact. Her email is Caitlin, Kaitlyn, @ivyleague.com. For our entire crew, Bill Spalding saying so long, and thanks again for joining us today.